Hi guys, just going to teach you how to fix a common problem that seems to have been introduced with one of the recent versions of Poser. So what I have here is a scene called Rural Crossroads. Can't remember who made it, sorry creator, but it's a nice set. And what we have here is some grass in the foreground, some bushes in the background. And it's a crossroads in a pastoral scene. A rural crossroads, you might even say. So Superfly, just low quality optics render. So if I give that a render now, you'll notice this little shine effect here and a shine here, shine on the grass, shine, shine, shine. And there's a good reason for that. It's unfortunately Poser seems to have had a problem interpreting transparency. So if I go to my auxiliary cam, so what we have here is a bush and some grass, and you'll notice incidentally that they're kind of white fluffy around the edge, and what these are known as is billboard objects. So if I just show you here, so these are little clumps of grass here, but all they are really is a few polygons. I can't select them for some reason. I can select them like this, but I can't just roll over on them. But there are a few little objects, just a few polygons, and then a texture is projected onto them, and then transparency is used to create the image. So here, for example, if I zoom in, you'll see this bush is a bunch of polygons here. Usually with trees, the leaves will be one polygon here and then another polygon at right angles to it, so that it works at both angles. But here, the grass, we've got two polygons here, a couple of polygons here, a couple of polygons here. And when I render that, in theory, there's a transparency map. If I go into the material room, so I've got grass clusters selected. If I go to the material room, in theory, this transparency map should cut out the bits of the texture which are invisible or transparent. So the black bits become invisible, the white bits show. But there's two things going on here. The first thing is what they've done is this is the really common one why transparency is reflective, is they've set a specular value for transparency, and the first easy thing is just to set that to 0. What they've done is try to give the grass some shine, and that specularity should be cut out by this transparency map, but it's not working. So if I just render that, okay, I did one of the grasses. There's a whole bunch more. Let me just have a look. All right, see there's 4 parts to it, so there are angles to each other. So I'll just set these all to 0. And give that a try again. I don't know if I've done this clump or not. I guess not. Let's have a quick render. Okay, yeah, that's worked. So, or it could just be the angle I'm looking at this, so I'm not seeing the reflection. But you'll see there in Superfly that cuts that fairly well. Now, I think that possibly the transmap could have been a little bit tighter to the grass, but if you render that in Firefly, you'll see that's a lot less effective, I think. Had I rendered it before I deleted those reflection maps, specularity layer rather, it would have been even worse. But here, see this noisiness here. So it's clearly not just a Superfly issue. If I see this whiteness, I automatically assume that the transmap here, this transmap is supposed to crop tightly to this grass. And there's always a bit of a fuzziness on the edge. Now, I don't know if you're familiar with Photoshop, but with Photoshop, what you'd do is you'd have an inside glow or an inner glow. If you cut this grass out of something and then wanted to composite in Photoshop on top of something else, what you'd do is you'd use the layer properties to add a inner glow that was the underlying object's color, and that would kind of disguise the sharp edge. If you work with Premiere, you'll notice that they have with their matte compositing tools, they have ways to get rid of green screen, which kind of does the same thing. But in Poser, it's all or nothing, I guess. What they could have done perhaps is made this grayscale edge. In fact, let's have a look. So where is that? First Bastion is the creator of that. So let's just navigate to that place and see what that image map is like. I'm just doing that off screen. So here, grass billboard, here we go. So let's zoom in and we'll do, oh, that's off screen for you guys. I often forget about that. There we go. So if I zoom in, we can see how sharp the edges of this map are. So there's a little bit of anti-aliasing grayscaleness on the edge, but and that is supposed to stop the grass from looking too sharp edged, which is quite laudable, but it does create this fuzziness now with Poser. So I don't know if that's a Poser problem. See, just looking even in the preview window, but at least you can get rid of that shininess, and the same with the bush here. So hopefully that's going to help you. So just a quick summary: choose the object that you want to get rid of the shininess, go to the material room. So here, let's see, what is it? Props. No, I'll do it this way. Right click, select grass clusters, and then look for specular value. That's how much this specularity or shine is working. And as I say, there's a specular level that with most things they have a little bit of specularity, which is the tendency to indicate where the light source is. So if you look at your hand, you'll see bright bits and dark bits, whatever lighting's around you. Even though the skin texture is more or less the same color, there's kind of darker away from you, not just shadows, but also a little bit of shine that shows you where the light is. And it's the same here, that there's specularity, but as I say, Poser doesn't seem to handle that properly at the moment. I think it's a transparency problem. But anyway, hopefully that helps you. Also, you might be just wondering, just before I go, what this transparency edge value is. That is the tendency of a transparency map to head towards opaque on the edges. So if you imagine a sphere, a glass sphere, or a glass bottle, for example, just look at a glass bottle in your shelf, or on the side next to you if you're an alcoholic, and you'll see as you move towards the edge of the curve of the bottle, then the glass becomes more opaque as less light is able to pass through it because there's more glass in the way. And this value here, transparency edge, wherever it is, transparency edge is 1 is no transparency towards the edges, and 0 means it becomes very, 1 is complete transparency towards the edges, and 0 means it becomes very, very opaque towards the edge. You could argue that this should have some kind of graph so as you can set how much it falls off, but this is fine for most cases. Anyway, guys, hopefully that helped you, and I will speak to you soon.